Yeah, hi, I'm John Deactis, and I am the director of Quintin House, which is one of the branches of Mission Services of London. Okay, well, Quintin House, we are actually celebrating 50 years, actually in a month's time, April 1st. Quintin House started here at this site. 10 years, or about 8 years before that, started as Bethel House in Wallacestown, which was started up by Mennonites, and it was really designed for alcoholics to come to. Moved to London, and at that point it was named after Canon Quintin Warner, who was an Anglican priest. He was one of the founders of bringing Alcoholics Anonymous, AA, to Canada. Didn't bring the first group here, was part of bringing the whole movement here to the London area and to the Toronto area to start. So we've been here 50 years. We're celebrating that this year. We've got lots of things going on that we're going to celebrate it with. And interestingly enough, as we're doing this, we have got some really interesting information that what Quintin Warner first started out doing was exactly what we're doing today. He was probably way ahead of the game years ago when he started doing counseling for alcoholics and drug users, and for those who are struggling with drug addiction. And but he was one at that time who focused on trauma, focused on things from the past of the guys that he was working with, and that's where we are doing today. And it's almost come full circle, because it's just one of those things that some organizations are just kind of going back to. So very interesting, the background that he began. He being an AA person, this program is not a AA, it's not a 12-step program. We're very focused on trauma and grief and family dynamics. We do what we call relapse prevention groups, which means that guys get together, we talk about areas in their life that we can help them prevent relapsing from, and how they can, think differently about situations. So we're not a 12-step program, but certainly our guys use AA meetings for supports in the evenings and on weekends and so on. So yeah, it's been 50 years we've been here. Okay, well, Quintin House serves those who are struggling with addiction, really, any kind of addiction. As a larger organization, Mission Services of London, we deal with the impoverished. We deal with we have shelters, we have family shelter, we have men's shelter, we have the mission store, and we have a community mental health program. And so Quintin House is one of those branches. So our real focus is men, 18 to 118 if you want. But our focus really is dealing with those who are struggling with addictions.
Walk us through the intake process. What does someone accessing your services need to know? Okay.
Well, anybody can make a referral to us. It could be through a doctor, a family member, through the person themselves that's struggling. It's not until we actually make contact with that person, though, that we'd actually begin the process of the intake. So for somebody to come to our program, they need to have an assessment tool filled out. It's called the ADAT. It's an admission discharge assessment tool. And there's many organizations across the city that do those for us. We don't actually do them here. We can do one, but typically we don't do them. And we can get that. We're provincially available. So people come to us right from everywhere across Ontario. As a matter of fact, probably 40% of our referrals come from the Toronto area. And specifically one specific area, which is one of the detoxes there, one of the withdrawal management programs there, Toronto East General. But we do get clients from all across the province. They fill out these forms, and if you're in jail, if you're in prison, social workers there can also fill out the forms. They fax them to us. Our intake worker would talk to that person on the phone if they're in prison or in jail, wherever they may be in the province. If they're in London, we try to get them here for an interview just to meet with them. If they're not, we can do that on the phone. Many times the guys that we work with, they're seeing us for the very first time, meeting somebody for the very first time the day they show up for their admission. So the process is that we go through the ADAT, it's called, the Admission Discharge Assessment Tool. And that takes a look at a lot of things. It takes a look at a social history, it takes a look at their drug use, their patterns of use, how long they've been using, the severity of how much they're using, all those things, and then our intake worker will make a determination as to whether or not they're appropriate for our program or not. If they're not, our worker will help them find the best spot for them, for what they're going through. Many times, guys who come to this program, because we're residential and it's a 4-month program, they've been using for a long time. If somebody just started using, they wouldn't be appropriate for our program. we would refer them on to other places like Addiction Services Thames Valley, those that go in and just have appointments on a weekly or every other week basis. But anybody in the community, we run 3 relapse prevention groups a week, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. The community's welcome to join in on those, as well as the guys in our program attend those as well. So anybody who's graduated from our program, anybody who's an alumni, they can attend what we call RPGs. But anybody in the community who has addiction related problems, they can also be part of those groups. And they're just for an hour and a half, on those mornings of those days. So to come into the program is really getting that form filled out, meeting with our intake worker, and Rita will make a determination as to whether or not we're appropriate for them. If we are, they would have weekly check-ins until we could bring them in. That waiting list ranges anywhere between 2 weeks and 4 months, depending on the time of year, depending on what we have going on. But there would be weekly check-ins, so not only would they be checking in with us, but we now check in with them as well. So we think it's important for us to contact the guys, and by doing that, we think that we keep them better connected than them always trying to call us. That's hard when we have guys who are in prison or in jail, but they call us once a week as part of the deal we set up with the social worker at the prison. And we just keep connected with them. Sometimes they just leave a message saying, I'm doing okay, I'm not doing okay. That helps us determine if we can get somebody in sooner because they're struggling or not. We'll do that. But typically the wait rate now, on average, is about 2 months before somebody can get in, 2 to 3 months. I guess being the director, I don't get to spend as much time with the clients, but the times I do is what I enjoy. So I do get involved in some of the treatment discussions, treatment issues. We have a great staff here, a great team that I think one of the things that I appreciate so much is when we gather together as a team to talk about our clients and what are ways we can help them. So the contact with the men, I'm out of my office a lot, but when I'm around here, one of the things I enjoy the most is actually being on the floor and talking with the guys in the program. Getting their story, listening to their story, where they came from, where they are now, where they want to go. We offer, I think, hope and a future for our guys. And just to hear them talk about that after they've been here, we've made a lot of changes in our program in the past year, a lot of changes in terms of staffing, program changes. To see the difference from what we were doing to what we're doing today is a big difference. At one point our graduation rate was about 35%, it's now over 50%. Part of that is the changes to what we do, how we do it. We've changed a lot of things, even simple things as in terms of a menu, our diet for our clients. We have a very good menu for our guys, and it's all based around addictions, it's all based around drug choices, what's good for them, what's not good for them. Our budget in the last 4 years has gone from $30,000 a year to over $65,000 a year because we're given much healthier food all through the day. So we've done a lot of changes, a lot of program changes. So to see how the program has evolved since I've been here, and I've only been in the program for 4 years, but to see how it's evolved and to see how our clients are responding to that. Our guys spend up to 2 hours every day in the gym now as part of the recreation piece. That used to be 10-minute walk was our recreation program. And I'd watch our guys walking down the street with a cigarette and a coffee, and that was our recreation program. So now they spend, they get a good breakfast before they leave. They eat at 7 o'clock. 8 o'clock they are in the gymnasium. They come back at 10 and they start the programs at 10:30. So to see our guys actually go through the program and graduate. The other part I think that's really good for me is when family come to our graduations. So once a month we have graduations. To see family members come back to the graduations of our guys who have given up, and rightly so. Our guys have hurt a lot of, they burn a lot of bridges, they've hurt a lot of family members. To see families come back, to participate, and to hear family members say things like, I've never ever seen you look this good. I can't remember the last time you looked that well. And to see them come and offer continued support, even with what they've been through and what they've gone through, and to be able to come back and want to continue to be a support. So a good part of our program has changed that we do a lot of the family dynamics as well. We try to engage family members while they're here, bring them into our sessions. Even from out of town, we can do them on we'll Skype them in or phone call in and do a lot of stuff going back and forth and try to help repair some of those family dynamics that have been broken down. So when we see families coming back together, when we see guys graduating, when you hear family members, when you hear kids of our adult men who are 20 years old and 30 years old coming to a graduation, haven't seen their dad in a long time, and they come here and they don't even recognize him because he looks so good, and they just didn't recognize him because they haven't seen him look like that in 10 years. And that happens often. That's not unusual to have family members come and not recognize their dad or brother after not seeing him for the last 10 years, but to be involved and come back for grad. So I think that's very satisfying as well.